So I'll do a little drawing demo, if anybody wants to look at this. So it's carrying on the theme of people. Last week we did a little bit of sketching of each other, which was great, and I really sort of concentrated on kind of head and torso really. So I thought I'd go for like full figure. I've got various, I've basically gone on to Pinterest and found lots of photos and printed them out. Because a lot of my photos, well, they probably make quite nice paintings, they're not that easy to use for just figure drawing, really. So I've tried to find people that are fairly minimally clothed so you can actually see shapes. So that was one of the demos from earlier in the week, and I thought maybe I'll try that one today. So, yeah, so that's that bit. I've also brought in my sketchbook, so these are all, depending on what look at these are all kind of mostly quick drawings of people as a out. So there. Also brought in a few people, a few art books, so different people I've been inspired by in the past. So Edward Hopper was really a very early influence, and I always liked his work. Again, along with sort of someone like David Hockney as well. You know, they're both people that artists that have figures in their paintings. And I really like these kinds of things where you've got people in sort of natural settings rather than sort of portraits. I quite like people. So that's him. This is my Bill Jacklin book. So he's somebody, I just kind of came across his work in the library once and I've seen a few of his exhibitions. So he's a British artist that lives in America, contemporary artist, and he does, you know, they're based on sketches and photos and that sort of thing, but they're slightly reimagined scenes. Mostly from America. And then this is a catalogue from a Rob Poynton exhibition, so I'm a big fan of Rob's work. So this was from a couple of years ago, but he does a lot of work with, a lot of his paintings have figures in, people sort of in action. So if anybody wants to look at those, a few bits there. So this kind of goes back to the way I used to draw with life drawing, particularly when I was teaching life drawing. And what I sort of suggest is perhaps sketch out with something fairly light to start with, either just light pencil marks or a light pastel pencil. And I've got loads of these pastel pencils here if anybody wants to borrow any. And this was I've got a couple of sets that got donated years ago. So if I was drawing her, I'd probably try and work out roughly where she should be. There's almost like a kind of what some people call like a line of action through the whole pose. So this whole pose is a bit like a diagonal. So sometimes it pays to just start off loosely and just try and get the main direction of the pose. So for me, that would be something like that. And then within that, we've got different curves. Her head would probably be about here. I'm thinking perhaps a head that sort of size. And I could measure that and just see how many times that goes in the whole body. 3, 4, 5, 6. So about 6.5 because she's on her tippy toes. You'd expect about 6, a head plus 6, roughly. Obviously, different people vary. So I can just check that's going to fit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should fit in. The same going up that way. So you could just start with something like that. Obviously, this is a back view. I'll show you a little bit of this other one as well, because it would be a similar sort of approach. If I was drawing somebody from the front, I'll probably start with the middle of the features, perhaps eye level, and then the angle between the eyes and the back of the ear. So if I see in a front view, I'd start like that. I'd get that line in there, then look at the middle of the neck, which might be about there, and then probably look for the middle of the torso. So draw those sort of lines in. But if we've got the back view, I need to do something equivalent. So really the back of the head is kind of something like that. Probably seeing more this side of the head than I am that side of the head. And then the middle of the neck, and that really leads into, it comes down fairly straight, and then we've got quite a tight curve at the bottom of the spine. So that may not be in exactly the right place, but I find it helps to just try and think about where the middle of, straighten up a little bit. Yeah, actually that's going in a little bit more of an angle. It's kind of coming over this way, before it comes back. So getting some of that in helps. And then from there, perhaps start to see the angle of her shoulders. And what I'm aiming to do is really just get almost like a stick person or kind of skeletal person to start with. So this part of the arm and then that part, it's all fairly straight. And then a hand's going to go off in that direction. And then on this side, we've got a shoulder, that part of the arm, and with this part. Again, probably comes out fairly straight. Checking that angle. And obviously having your picture on the same plane helps, or be square onto your image. And then think about her torso. Right, so we're seeing a lot more of this side of the torso than we are this side. So probably a little bit about there, more of the torso there, at bottom there. And then the middle of the thigh is probably going to be about there. And then, so that's at that sort of angle. And I think this part of the leg is at a slightly different angle. So that is a little bit steeper, this bit, than that bit. So I'm thinking about like that. And then her other leg, I could probably, let's just get one line for the general direction there. Yeah, I think I'll just go for one line there. Probably your weight is evenly distributed. One thing to kind of have a look at when you're drawing people and standing figures is where the centre of gravity would be. So if you can imagine like from the middle of the head, if I'm just standing, quite often it's just kind of above my feet if I'm just standing like this. But obviously if she's on her tiptoes, it's probably going to be somewhere here. So if you just imagine like a plumb line going from the middle of her head, it is pretty much there. So that, it might help to just put a vertical in, and then I can see how far either way her leg is going to be. So all fairly loose and sketchy, and just feeling my way around. Once I've got to that stage, I can then start to just home in on the shapes a little bit. You might find, sometimes viewfinders can be useful. So you can look at, say, how much space is around. Well, you've got a few kind of what you call like negative shapes. So when we're drawing, say, the legs, we can look at the shape of the leg, but we can also look at these shapes in here. You could do something similar here. You perhaps use the viewfinder and almost like sort of create a shape in there. So if that helps, you know, it's quite a good way of just trying to see the shapes of the person plus the shapes around. I always used to find this idea really useful when I used to teach life drawing, and I used to look at other people's drawings. And sometimes it's quite hard to just sort of pinpoint exactly what needs to be done. But if I'm sort of, you know, drawing something like the shoulders and the arm, if you know, so say that's the sort of shape I'd see around there if I imagine that out. But if you say coming over here or over here, then I know that something's a little bit amiss there. Really. Anyway, that'd be that bit. All okay so far. Yeah. A lot of talking. Right. So again, I'll just start with the head shape. So she's got kind of a bun of hair, and then something like that. Her ear is just tucked in there, and then we've got the side of her face and her hairline. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there. The back of her neck, just kind of follow that shape round, and her shoulder. If you want to draw on these, you're welcome to. Like this, tonally, that's quite difficult to see, you know, where her shoulder is. So if it helps to just go over the lines, yeah, feel free to do that. So yeah, she's got a muscle there and one here. And this is where I find it useful having a line in the middle, because I can kind of draw one half of the arm and then start to draw the other half. And it just keeps me going in the right direction, so I can be sort of alternating. Then we come to where her elbow would be, and that part of the forearm just starts to come out again a little bit. So you've got the curve out that way to her wrist, and then I'll come on this side. I think the curve is slightly further along here. That'll bring me to there. Hands, yeah, that. If it helps, just draw a kind of mitten shape. don't worry too much about the whole hand. But if I wanted to break into that, I could then think, well, her thumb's there. There's a curve around to there, and then she's got one finger kind of up there, and that just flattens it out. So that's roughly what her hand is doing. And then coming down this side, a little bit more curve in her neck, and the shoulder here. Yeah, this wasn't the best photo actually. The tones are so subtle there. I've got to draw around that to see what that's something like what I'm seeing there. So it's just really homing in on that shape. That comes down there, out a little bit on her forearm. You could, if you want to, check distances against her head, or her head and neck. It's coming out about here. And then on that side, let's go like that. A little bit is there, but most of the curve is on the top of the forearm there. That's coming out to about there. I'm just going to guess that as a length. So something like that. And then same sort of thing, if you want to just construct that, by all means, that's as far as I'll take that. And then really just trying to work these shapes. So again, I can see this shape here, but I can also reference it, have a look at how that lines up. So this bit is further that way, the side of her neck, so that needs to curve right into there. In relation to that, and then round to her bottom. Perhaps I'll draw a little bit on this side now. And as I say, it can really help to get where her spine will be, and then the shape of the costume. A little bit of a breast and a rib cage will just come out slightly. I might be too far out that way. Maybe bring that back in. That's something a bit like that. Again, it's sort of referencing that shape with her neck. Bring that in. Again, actually, the shape of the costume you can see against the shapes of a back. So I'm just seeing that as a shape. That's a bit more pointy. And then start to work my way on the thigh muscles. And again, I'm probably going to go either side again. Get to about, I think her knee is about there. I could line that up with something here. Let's just see how. If I dropped a vertical there, yeah, that goes straight through her knee. So if I dropped a vertical here, I actually need to come further over anyway. It wants to be more there. And then her knee there, and then the back of the calf muscle. And that down. And then her heel. I should just about have enough room to get a foot in. Something like that. And on this side, just see where her thigh, if I've got that in the right place, her thigh is just coming out about the same space. Check that angle, that's a little bit steep when I've got it. And the back of her thigh to here. And what you can do is sort of imagine how that would carry on and join up. So if you've got kind of a thigh here, you've got to imagine that's going to join in here somewhere. So again, that might be helpful to draw those in with a lighter colour. Then calf muscle, that's here. Just need to make sure these points align. So again, that's the guideline. In a little bit at the back of the heel, like that, and then down to there. So, feels a bit out, I feel like that's got to go over a bit, but that's basically the process I would use.
Makes it so easy for you. Make it so easy.
It's easier. It's a lot easier if you haven't got time to talk at the same time. Yeah, this bit feels like it's got to go over a bit. But it's trying to get into the habit of relating, you know, the different parts, relating one bit to another. And just sort of look up and down, scan up and down. The thing with this standing pose is you're kind of scanning up and down. A lot of the relationships are vertical relationships. If somebody's lying down, you're looking that way, where somebody's knee might line up with the head or something. But yeah, something like that. But they're all useful ideas. You know, the proportion thing, perhaps I'll stretch the torso out a bit too much. I can see that now. You know, that looks too long in relation to her legs. So it's look proportions. I could, you know, if I'm being a bit slower and careful, just measure how many times, you know, a head fits into a torso. The shapes, angles,
The negative
and then
spaces.
negative, positive, and negative spaces, and really just keep scanning up and down, side to side, where one thing lines up with another. You could look at, say, where the fingertips line up with a costume. So yeah, probably that would come down a bit. So if you fancy a bit of that, I'm not suggesting you spend tons of time on each one. When I used to go to life drawing sessions, and there are life drawing sessions up at the community centre, usually monthly, Susan Allen Smith runs. Great to just go along and sketch models, and I know the way Susan runs it is to sort of maybe have some very quick poses, a couple of minutes, just put them down, then perhaps a slightly longer pose, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, perhaps a 20-minute pose, and that's how I was taught to draw. Les Shaw taught me, who Jan used to know. We used to go to evening classes, and you just have loads of quick poses, and then you perhaps spend a bit longer after break. So, yeah, there's lots of photos there if you want to try different things there.
Also doing the light sketch at the beginning and then you correct and you go along.
Yeah. It's like your thinking lines, and it becomes less precious.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, my sketches they're still fairly sketchy, but I tend to just go, you know, just try and visualise where everything, the final lines. But I still, you know, it's got me in the habit of looking for those relationships.
Okay.
Oops. Right. So yeah, plenty of gear here. 1, 2, 3.
That's you, is it?
Yeah.